Alright, here we go. This is the last part of your review. Now, we showed this picture in class. You just have to be able to recognize what this picture is. Okay? We have an angle. What this marking is doing is trying to draw a bisector, which would cut that angle into two equal sections. What word says we're bisecting an angle? Well, angle bisector. Okay? Now, don't get confused by bisector down here. What would a segment bisector look like? A segment bisector would just be a segment that we're trying to cut into two equal portions, and they would draw a line straight in the middle. Okay? This one is for segments. This one is for angles. So the correct answer is an angle bisect. All right, number 15. Complement. As soon as I see that word, I write equals 90. They tell us I've got one angle that's 31.1, and I don't know the other missing angle. They add up to 90 degrees. So when I subtract 31.1, I should get 58.9 degrees. Answer A. Next up. Now, I've got measure of angle 1. I'll draw it down here in blue. And then the measure of angle 2 over here, and they have to add up to equal 180. Well, what does 180 tell you? Well, hopefully, you're thinking two things. One, it could be supplementary, or two, it could be a linear pair. You know it's not complementary because complementary means equals 90. You know it's not congruent because if we were saying 1 and 2 are congruent, we would just put an equal sign in between them. But we don't have that. We just know they add up to 180. So it's either B or D. However, it doesn't specify that it is in a straight line and that the angles are adjacent. So we cannot assume that it's a linear pair. Because guess what? Over here, if I put some values and I say this is 100 degrees and this one over here is 40 degrees, 80 degrees, guess what? 100 plus 80 equals 180. Those are supplementary, this guy and this guy, even though they're not a linear pair. So, not necessarily D. Alright, last question. Can you tell me if they're adjacent? All you have to do is go through each figure to see if they're adjacent. Now, if they're adjacent, they share a vertex. Okay? If they're adjacent, they also share a common side. They're touching. Okay, and they do not overlap. So let's go through each one. I've got angle 1 here in yellow and angle 2. So, do they share a vertex? Yes. Do they touch? Well, yeah, right here along this line. And do they not overlap? Of course. So number 1 is adjacent. Let's look at the second one. Do they share a vertex? No. So right now, because they don't share a vertex, we know they're non-adjacent. Okay? Number 3, do they share this vertex? Well, yes, they do. Now, angle 1 is here, but angle 2 is here. So are they touching along their sides? No. There's not a part in the middle that keeps them together and touching. So this one would not be adjacent. And finally, we've got angle 1, the little one, but check out what happens with angle 2. It overlaps. So since it overlaps, it can't be adjacent, even though they have similar side in common. So the only one that's adjacent would be figure 1. Ding, ding, ding.